Welcome to the NLP Talks podcast, bringing you inspirational stories along with a good dose of potentially life-changing NLP strategies. I'm Laura Evans, multi-award-winning NLP trainer, and I'm on a mission to help you unleash your potential in business and life. I'm so glad you're here. Pull up a chair, listen in, and let's get started on revealing more about this transformational NLP toolkit. Hey, how you doing? And thank you so much for joining me and tuning in. This is going to be another amazing NLP Talks podcast episode. Of course, I'm Laura Evans, I'm your host, but more importantly, let me introduce today's guest, Michelle Langford. Now, Michelle had a very, very successful career for 18 years and on the face of it was doing really well. Behind the scenes, though, she was suffering with depression and anxiety and had sought help through therapy and had been told it would take 2 years and £8,000 for her to get a baseline level for her to be able to go on living her life. Needless to say, she found NLP, and last year it was my absolute pleasure to train her in NLP. In this episode, she's going to talk to you about what life was like before NLP, how she was feeling with imposter syndrome and feeling paralysed on those weeks when she was not well at all. And she's going to talk about how NLP really helped her in those light bulb moments. Now, what she's also going to talk about is how she's taken NLP back to her job and actually how she's going to be using NLP within her career. I think a lot of people think that you can either be an employee or a coach, and that's not the case. So Michelle is going to explain to you how she's worked with her employer to create this opportunity for herself. She, of course, coaches on the weekends and on the evenings, but the plan is not for her to leave her full-time job for another 5 years. So I really want you to hear about how it's possible for people to take NLP back into the workplace. I know you're going to love this episode. Before we go across to Michelle, just let me give you a shout out for the brand new document that I've created called How to Select the Best NLP Course for You. I know a lot of our customers struggle when they're trying to find an NLP provider, and I wanted to create a guide to help people make the right decision for them. Listen, of course, I'd love you to come and train with me, but more importantly, I'm sick and tired of hearing NLP providers taking in other people and other people getting disappointed because they're not getting the experience that they've been sold, and I want to put a stop to that. So the guide I've created on how to get the best course for you is a guide where I want you to take it, download it and use it, and make sure you ask any NLP provider the right questions to make sure you get the best training for you. Just head on over to my website, unleashyourpotential.org.uk, and you'll see a great big sign on the front saying download the guide here. Go ahead and download it. I don't even want an email address. I don't even want to know who downloads it. I just want to help people make better decisions. There's a 13-page PDF for you to download, 3 accompanying videos, and I want to make sure people make the right choice. So go ahead and do that. Download the guide. Let's go across and hear from Michelle so that you can hear what life was like for her before NLP and how now she's excited for the future.
So I've been in my career, a good career, for about 18 years at the time. I remember turning up to the first prep coach and saying, I'm 80% imposter syndrome and 20% sarcastic and I need some help. And what
love it.
Help I got. And what had happened is I'd settled. I just got used to the day-to-day. I had stopped dreaming about anything new, but I felt a little bit incomplete. So I'm what you might call a course junkie. Everything that became available, I went to. I trained in so many different things, looking for a different career. So I've tried accounting, mediation. I've done various physical training in case I wanted to open my own gym or become a personal trainer. Anything and everything I was trying and just not finding my fit. It was all very interesting to learn, but I couldn't quite find my fit. Nothing really made me feel like, yes, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. So I just continued plodding along every day. And I think like most people, I went through stages of hyperactivity where I was really productive and I was on a roll and I had my routine and I was training, I was working, I was doing something every single day. And then I'd hit that paralysis point where it just went, this is too much. I'm still not satisfied. What is the point? And it led me down the road of I need help with this. I just don't feel like I can do anything. Who am I to do anything? Who am I to get a promotion? Who am I to change my career? A lot of problems with self-worth, self-esteem. So I was in therapy for about 4 months prior to prac. practitioner course, just trying to establish why. Why did I feel like this? What was the root cause? What had happened in my past that had led me down this unsatisfied path? And then I found NLP.
I think that whole just settling for life as it is, I think is so common, right? I mean, I know these are the type of people you work with now, and we'll talk more about this later. But for you at that time, I guess life must have felt a little bit like you were just kind of like trudging through life. Like, what was the point, and like, where was this going? And was that the kind of stuff you were thinking about at that time?
Yeah, and I'd always thought it was very cliche when people would say I can't get out of bed in the morning, because you'd catch me in my hyper-productive week and I was nailing life, I was a busy fool. But then on the dip, when I used to lie in bed and just go, what's the point in today? What is different about today? There's nothing exciting about today. It's the same thing every single day. And it's soul destroying, absolutely soul destroying. Nothing wrong with the career that I had or have. I'm very successful in what I do. But that spark, there was no spark. So it was all a bit.
And I remember
paralyzing.
You said, okay, yeah, cool. I remember you saying that, at that point in your life, you were someone that would perhaps identify as having anxiety and depression. And, is that's something that I'm guessing, these down weeks or times that you were describing, I'm guessing that was, like you say, paralyzed you, really got in the way.
Personally, it's exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting to have to get up every day. And I'm sure a lot of people experience it. You turn up, you show up every day regardless. But inside, you're absolutely exhausted because you're trying to pull yourself along, show up at the same time, carry a team, carry a career. And it was hard. And there was a lot of shame attached to it because the shame was, I should be better. I am too old for this. I am too old to have depressive dips. I am too old to be messing about with emotions. I should turn up and I should be performing. So it's absolutely exhausting. And my career, I probably stayed under the radar. I flew under the radar for a long time because I didn't want to draw attention to myself. And it was that fear of if I put myself out there, somebody's going to tell me, no, you're not good enough, you're wrong. So yeah, very exhausting period of life that was.
I remember you making a comment to me that when you came and did NLP had saved you £8,000 in therapy. And I was like, you what? Like, what is that all about? So, because that's quite a bold statement, right? So tell me a bit more about how did that happen? Like what led to this £8,000 potential pounds worth of therapy that you were supposed to have and then didn't?
So when I turned up for therapy, I explained my situation, how I felt, what was going on in life. And this wasn't a £200 an hour therapist. This was your average price. But what she said to me was that, and she'd gone and consulted her supervisor as well after seeing me. And she said, look, basically to get you to a base level where you can just operate normally, it's going to take 2 years. It's going to take 2 hours a week for 2 years. Is this something you want to invest in? Because this is going to be a lot of work trying to recover your identity, trying to build you back up just to a base point where I could operate again. And at the time I said, yes, absolutely. I just want to feel good. I just want to figure out who I am. I want to be confident. I want to just feel alive. And she said, yeah, we can absolutely do it. We do it obviously by delving into the past. We go through the past history, the traumas, all of the emotions that nobody really ever wants to relive. And we'll do that for 2 years and then you'll be okay. And I just went, okay. I said, if this is going to work, then okay. And I don't know that I would have lasted 2 years going through that amount of emotions every single week. It has a time and a place. Therapy absolutely has a time and a place. But to look back on it now and think I could have been doing that every week for 2 years, that would have been tough.
That's crazy. That's crazy. 2 years to get a baseline level. Yeah. 2 years. And the thing is, I remember watching there was a documentary on television. Oh my goodness, who was it? I can't remember. Joey, was it Joey Essex,
Yes,
that had the therapy session? It was Joey Essex, wasn't it? That had the therapy session, and watching that kind of therapy, and to think, giving that as a public example, because I don't want you to share your detail, but to share, to have to do that every single week for 2 years and spend £8,000 doing it, and to have to trudge through, like you say, all of that stuff. Oh my goodness. I mean, I can't think of anything worse. I'm talking about dragging it out. But I guess what worries me more is that, all of us, right, when we go and see these people, and we see the psychologists and we see the therapists and we see all of these people, and when someone says to you, oh yes, it's going to take 2 years and it's going to cost you £8,000, like, you say yes, right? Because what other option do you have? Because at that point, you don't know that there are other options. You just sit there and go, well, I don't want to feel like I do now. And if that's what you're telling me is needed, all right, let's do it.
And I found some of it useful. I did find some of the work we did useful, because I like to know, I like to understand how and what happened to lead me to this point. So a lot of it was useful. And I was desperate. So when she said, this is going to take 2 years, I just said, yeah, whatever it takes. I just want to feel better.
Wow. And thank goodness it hasn't taken 2 years. Let's swiftly move on from that moment.
Let's go.
So let's talk a little bit then about what caught your attention about NLP.
So a little bit similar to your story, I was at a Tony Robbins event, did a lot of Googling afterwards and saw the magic 3 letters, NLP. And I put it into Google, and I'm an automatic convincer. So you came up first and I just went, plup, you're it. You are landed with me now. I am with you.
Yay, I love it.
And that's how it happened. I do believe that things fall into place at the right time when it's right for you. And yeah, that was how it happened. You were my first search on Google. And it appealed to me because of the name, neuro-linguistic programming. I mean, that's buzzwords to my brain. That's detail, that's science, that's everything I need. So yeah, it ticked all the boxes.
Oh, well done, Tony Robbins. Because, as you say, for those of you that haven't heard my story, Tony Robbins is one of the places where I found NLP first too. Well done for Google for making sure that I got in front of you that day that you were looking for an NLP course. Well done, Google. Don't say that very often. So talk to me then a little bit about your practitioner course. Obviously, you've done your practitioner course, your coach course, and of course, master practitioner as well now, which is amazing. So talk to me a little bit about some of those light bulb moments, when you were sat on that course, realizing that you'd been told potentially 2 years worth of therapy, but then all of a sudden you're sat on this course going, right, okay. And I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm guessing light bulbs were going off in your head all the time about how you didn't need 2 years and actually how fast and easy it was to start to change your life.
Yeah, and I sat there a little bit dumbfounded for a couple of days when you said, this is not building habits. This is not going to take 21 days. It's a 20-minute process and we'll change some things and you're going to feel better. And I thought, this is not true. This is not true. A bit skeptical in the third row. And the words that you said were, at some point, you just said, they're only thoughts. So the rule book that I'd made up for my life, everything I believed, it wasn't true because they're only thoughts. Any limiting thought I ever had, it's not real. It can be destroyed. It can be replaced by something positive. It can be replaced by something brilliant because they're only thoughts. And I say that to myself all the time. Every time I catch myself in a negative mind frame, or I tell myself I can't do something, if something slips through, I just say, hey, that's only a thought. So on Pratt course, that was one of the biggest things. For all the work that you did over 7 days, I appreciate it. But that one line really got me.
But it's funny, isn't it? It's funny how sometimes someone will say a line to you or something that, a throwaway comment I might have made in conversation, but sometimes they just stick, don't they? And they just allow you to reframe things in your head, to make it more manageable, to make it okay, and to empower you to move forward. And it's totally, we've, for those of you listening to the podcast that perhaps haven't done any NLP training yet, we talk very much in the training room about how limiting beliefs that we hold, so I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I don't deserve it, I can't do it, and insert whatever you like on the end of that. Actually, what limiting beliefs really are is decisions that you've made. And at some point in your life, you've created this rule book full of all of these decisions. And you don't consciously and knowingly always make these decisions. It's just that life kind of happens and you just unconsciously start believing these things. And it's so empowering when you realize that actually that's not actually a rule book that serves me anymore. And actually, I can change the rule book. And actually, it's relatively easy and fast in order to change said rule book that we all have in our lives. And as soon as you start to put some distance between yourself and these thoughts and these feelings, perhaps that you're experiencing, knowing that it's all possible to change. I remember that day too on my practitioner course, just like, yeah, do you know what? It can change and I'm going to make it change. What was the moment for you where you really kind of realized that it was possible and it was kind of almost your gift to give yourself in order to change the way that you're thinking and feeling and you know, to create the life you actually want? Like, can you remember what that was like?
Yeah, so I think all the way through training, I was noting subtle differences. I was noticing that those negative thoughts weren't popping up anymore. The more work we did, the less I felt it and the more confident I was feeling. But it was when I remember it like it was yesterday. I walked out of my first paid client. We were just walking down a cup of tea. We'd finished the session. She was beaming, her entire face, her demeanor had changed, and she was ready to take on the world. And I walked out thinking, oh my God, I did that. And I loved it. And it worked. And I am meant to do this. The first time in my life, for the last 18 years, for all the courses I've done, it was that moment where I went, this is it. This is absolutely it. I can use everything I've learned and I can help other people feel the same way. We both had the same energy, the same excitement about the future. It was unreal. And that's the bit I'll harp on about forever. Just that moment afterwards of going, this is it. The clarity I had after all the training. People say to me, what happens after you do masters? What's the big thing? What's the takeaway? And I've said, after you finish, you wake up and there's no noise. There's no chatter. There's no internal nonsense going on. There's no more limiting anything. You just wake up and you are clear on exactly what you need to do because everything is aligned. All your values, all your beliefs, everything is aligned. And there's just this clear focus on what's next. It's absolutely amazing. I'm still buzzing from it. So yeah, those few moments.
And I think that's a feeling that I know I can relate to, and I know the majority of our master practitioner community will also relate to, is that feeling where you look at how you've worked with someone else in what is a relatively short period of time. I'm guessing, you know, you're probably, you know, referring to maybe some breakthrough coaching that maybe you've done and, you know, which, you know, potentially 2 days, you know, that's kind of what we're talking about. Certainly not 2 years, you know, and that you never get bored, do you, of seeing that glisten in someone's eye when you've helped them, where their shoulders drop because all of a sudden they're not carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders anymore. All of a sudden life becomes possible. And that feeling, I wish I could bottle that feeling. I really do, because you've just reminded me exactly what it feels like. And I'm feeling it right now as we're talking. That is such a special feeling when you know that you've had a hand in changing someone's career, changing someone's life, changing someone's outlook. You know, that's that's fascinating. So when you talk about finding your real purpose, is that what it means to you? Like, tell us a little bit more about finding your purpose. Like, you know, what's that about for you?
Yeah, and I struggled with it for the longest time. I was looking under every rock, under every training course that was out there, trying to find it. And it never really felt right. Nothing ever really felt right. And after I'd worked with this one particular person, I walked out and I just it felt like somebody had scooped sand in the hole that I was carrying and everything was just aligned. I keep using that word, but that's how it felt. Everything was just going in the right direction at the right time. Everything just felt right. And that's how I would define, I know my purpose now, because I felt it. I have felt that difference and that shift where everything just feels right. And I know I am doing what I'm meant to be doing with the people I'm meant to be doing, and I'm enjoying it. And at the time I really went, I didn't know this could happen. I didn't know you could have a career and be this happy and this fulfilled. I've heard people say it, but I didn't believe it could be true. It was absolutely amazing and it was that certainty, that knowing that this is it. This is absolutely it. You just know. There's no doubt. There's no, oh, but maybe I should do that instead. Maybe nothing. It was just absolute certainty that this is what I'm meant to be doing.
Love it. I love it. Yeah, and you're right. I would relate similarly to that. When you're on purpose and you're doing what you're meant to be doing, it's just such a special place. I think, when both you and I probably can relate to that feeling of when, in the years we've gone by, in our past where we have just settled. I remember, back in my HR days, I remember vividly waking up one morning and lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking to myself, is this all there is? Like, is this what I'm meant to do with my life for the next 30, 40 years? Is this what I've been put on this planet for? Because if it is, seriously, is this it? And it was one of those, I don't know, these kind of surreal experiences that sometimes we all have, catch you at the most unassuming moment. And I just remember lying in bed thinking, this can't be it. There has to be something else. And it is sometimes so soul destroying when you are stuck somewhere where you don't feel like you're making a contribution, where you don't feel like you're making a difference, where you don't feel like you're on purpose. And I guess, whether people believe in luck or not, I think maybe we're the lucky ones that, actually manage to find our passion and find our purpose. But like you, I'm so glad that I now get paid to do something that I love. The idea of going back, and no disrespect to my HR colleagues, but the idea of going back to doing a job where I just turn up every day and I just churn out the work and then I go home and really, is that life? To me, that's not life. That's existing. That's not living a life. There's a really common buzzword at the moment about people wanting to live their best life and people living on purpose. And I think for a lot of people, they are just buzzwords. And I don't think people really stop to think about what they are. But when I hear them, I don't know about you, but when I hear them, I'm like, do you know what? Yes. Am I living on my path? Yes, I am. There is nothing else I'd rather be doing than helping people change their lives. I guess you feel the same.
I do. And I think I'm very lucky because I'm still employed full time. And like I say, I've built my career over the last 20 years and I'm very good at what I do. And it's been such a pleasure being able to take everything I've learned in NLP and put it right back into the workplace. So while I can do my coaching at the moment is just taking off. So I can leave it as the weekend. But Monday to Friday, I can still go into a workplace with this same excitement and enthusiasm. I'm still in the same place that I was 2 years ago. But every day I wake up excited to go into the same place, the same building, work with the same people. But I'm excited now because I can take what I've learned and I can help people, even doing the same role. So I think I'm really lucky to be able to do that.
So I want to talk a little bit about that because I think it's going to open a few eyes and ears when people hear this story because, you went into work, right? So I can't remember after which course this was, but you did one of the courses and you went into work and said to the people at work, I'm giving you words along these effects. You can tell us what you actually said, but my interpretation was words along the effect of, I'm just leaving you prior warning. I'm leaving in 5 years because I want to be a coach. And essentially we need to come up with a plan. I tell you what, that took guts, right? And obviously you can tell the proper story, but that took guts to do that. How many people actually have got the guts to go in and tell their boss what their plans are and then to start to realize them and have them received as well as they were from your company? I'd love you to share that story with everyone.
Yeah, and I've had nothing but support from the business I work for. They have been supportive all the way through practitioner course. I didn't say anything because I wasn't sure how I could use it in the workplace. It was all about me. I wanted it for personal development. I wanted to see what was going on and fix what I could within myself to give myself more opportunities and a better feeling. But after masters, when I had that knowing of, this is actually what I want to do for the rest of my life, I approached the business and just said, look, this is what's happened. I want to be a coach and we need a succession plan because I've been there a long time and I have a key role in it. So we're looking at, it's probably the longest succession plan ever for 5 years.
I love it.
But they have been so supportive, understanding what I can do with the toolkit that I've now got. So over the next 5 years, I can put as much help into the business as I possibly can, supporting other people and helping other people feel great like I can, working full time, but being happy about it. There's nothing to say that you have to be self-employed or have your own business to be happy. You can be happy as an employed person. It's just figuring out what are the thoughts that stop you from doing that.
You are so right. You are so right. So I remember you telling me, so you'd had this conversation at work. They're really receptive to this. You're like, right, folks, I'm not going to be here forever, so we need to sort this out. And I remember you then saying, they said, okay, so what does the plan look like? And you said, I don't want to work Thursdays and Fridays or whatever it was you said. And then all of a sudden they're like trying to create a role for you because they can see the difference in you and they can realize the value that you can add in the business in a different capacity. So forgive me if I'm wrong, but last time you and I spoke, there was a proposal you were putting forward to basically create reduce the hours that you do in your current job and actually then to create hours that you could use doing more coaching in the organization to reinvest in the organization. They're almost creating a little mini role for you. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, which company wouldn't want an internal coach who knows the pain points of the business, who has experienced them for the last couple of decades? I'm all for hiring external coaches and outsourcing things like that. But what a benefit to have for an internal person to already understand the employees. Obviously not the whole thing, it's a very large place, but to have a good grasp of what the pain points already are and being able to just say, I have a toolkit that can help that. I can help various people. I can help a lot of people at the same time, all for the benefit of the business.
And I think a lot of people think, especially when they listen to this podcast and think about, do I want to become a coach and all of that stuff? I think a lot of people think it's kind of all or nothing. So either I'm an employee doing what I'm doing or I'm a full-time coach. And I think a lot of people don't see that there's actually an element of grey in the middle, which is actually, you're not the first person in our community. And I sincerely hope you're not the last, where people have gone back into work and said, actually, do you know what? I can use NLP to help improve my team's performance, the organization's performance. And actually there's this massive toolkit here that isn't just for me and it isn't just for my coaching clients that I see on the weekends. Actually, this could add value to the business. And I couldn't agree with you more. Like, if only more organizations were enlightened enough to realize that actually coaches in organizations sometimes can add even more value. Because if I went in as an external coach, I'm not going to understand the culture. I'm not going to understand the pain points. I've not been there for the last 20 years, seeing all of the challenges, whereas you can see that and you can see it from the inside. And actually, I think in some instances, you will get more traction and get better results faster because you're, like you say, you're essentially taking this massive toolkit into this organization and saying, here, this is what we can do. And I just think that's gold. I think that's absolute gold for an organization to be that, that invested and that aware. I just think, oh my goodness, I wish more companies did it. What would your kind of advice be? So if someone was listening to this podcast and they're in a similar situation to you, so they've been in a job a long time, they're not really ready to go full-time as a coach themselves. Like, if you were to give them some top tips on how to approach an organization and how to kind of go about having the conversation that you've had, what would be your kind of pearls of wisdom that you would share? Because I bet this is going to be helpful for people.
So I think honesty is absolutely key. You need to go into your workplace and who is not going to say, I don't want extra help for this business? If you turn up and say, look, I'm qualified in this, I have all these skills to help a range of people, who is going to turn around and say, I don't want your help? That's not going to happen. So honesty, absolutely key, about your intentions, about the skills that you have. It's good to go in and know which areas you can address. So go in with the solution to any problems that might already be relevant, that might be the key things. A lot of things that you hear is communication. Communication in the workplace is one of the biggest frustrations, I guarantee, for any place of work. And NLP is all about communication. So definitely go with that in mind. And I think it's also being reasonable with yourself, having those boundaries for yourself, having realistic expectations of this will take so much energy. If you want to run it in your spare time as well, be aware of how much energy you have to spend. It's not worth running yourself into the ground to try and satisfy both your employer and yourself. So it's knowing yourself and knowing your boundaries as well. But definitely, I think honesty and hit them with your solution to the problem that you already know is there.
I love it. Great pearls of advice. So I want to talk a little bit about your coaching business, which you're in the middle of launching. So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And it's so exciting. So it's one of the things that brings me so much joy when I'm sat here on the sideline watching people like yourself who's in our community go, and here I am, like I'm here to help the world and I'm here to make a difference. And I just love it. I'll never, ever, ever get bored of seeing people help other people. Anyway, it's not about me, it's about you. So tell us a little bit about your business. So I told everybody just now while you were gone that your business is called Milan Coaching. So tell everybody a little bit about how you got on that name, what's your coaching business all around, and then I'd love you to tell us about some of the results that you've already been getting with some of the people you've been working with.
Yeah, so Milan Coaching was born off the back of the last course that we did. Probably before that, I remember walking into the last day of coach and you said to me, "You look different today." And I said, "I'm a coach now." And then my whole demeanor on the last day had changed. And I just walked in fresh with a new attitude. I was determined at that point it was happening. So Milan Coaching was probably born that day. It's just my name. I was one of those people who spent hours tossing out buzzwords and trying to think of a cool company name. And in the end, I just mashed mine together and said, "This is who I am. This is my business. I am proud of that name."
So you took the MIC of your first name and the LAN that's the start of your surname.
Exactly.
I love it.
I shipped myself.
Exactly. I say to people, don't waste hours and days trying to pick a name. Just pick a name and get on with it. So yeah. And then Milan Coaching was born. So tell us a little bit about your coaching business.
Yeah, so it's aimed at career professionals who, like we've said, have settled, who are just existing. Nobody needs to exist. Everybody deserves their dream life. I don't care how cheesy or corny that sounds. You deserve an exceptional life. And we live exceptionally by thinking differently. And that's what I'm here to do. I like to think of it as you're kicking down your barriers and turning them into building blocks to step into your new life. So not only do you kick your barrier down, you stand on top of it to reach your new dream life. So that's what we're doing.
That's such a brilliant metaphor. That's amazing. I love it. That's so perfect.
I think it's a good visual, isn't it? You walloping something down and then you stand on top of it.
Yeah, it's like, this is not going to beat me. In fact, I'm going to use it to help me build the life. I'm just like, I've got all these wonderful pictures in my head now. And I'm like,
I know.
God, that's so amazing. So amazing. What a way to reframe some of the stuff from our past and think it's not holding me back anymore. I'm going to use it to propel me forward.
Give me a
I love it.
And some of the results I've seen so far, I've worked with somebody who just had run out of steam, wasn't sure what was next. And they have actually gone, I'm going to start a business. I'm going to do this. I've got this skill. I am going for it. I'm going to launch my own business. And when you walk into coaching, you don't know what the actual outcome is going to be. You know that this person is going to feel so much better by the time they finish, but you can never imagine what the final result will be for them because it's so personal. And that's the great thing about it. Other people I've worked with, it's been procrastinating about starting particular projects or starting businesses. And now we're absolutely flying, especially at the back of a pandemic. You know, everything has been so tough. And these people that I've worked with, they now have this drive and this ambition and that their passion is back. And just to see people with their passion again it's been wonderful. Since we've started coaching, it's been absolutely amazing.
I love it. It's amazing, isn't it? It's just like you say, when people rediscover their passion, that's such a special place to be. And you have a hand in it. And it's just like, it's amazing. The way that we enable other people is just phenomenal. And, I couldn't be prouder of you and everybody else in our community that is out there making a difference. That's what it's about, and if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you'll know that my personal mission is during my lifetime to positively impact 50,000 lives on this planet before I leave. And I can only do that through people like Michelle and all our other coaches, because there's not enough time. There's not enough Laura Evans to go around. But if I can train some amazing people who go out there and help other people, like I said, nothing brings me more pride and more joy to be able to sit on the sideline cheering you and everybody else on, because that's what it's about for me. And honestly, I love it. I love the fact I've been able to help you personally on the courses, but I equally love how you now are going on and helping your business in your full-time job, your business, you're helping grow that business and sorting things out there, and you're now changing the lives of other people. And yeah, just big smile on my face. For those of you who listen to the podcast, you probably can't see our great big smiles, but let me show you, we both have massive smiles on our faces.
Yeah.
So the future for you then, Michelle, as you're moving forward, having done all your NLP training now and successfully. So, what's the future look like for you? Like, how are you feeling about that compared to how you were pre-NLP? I mean, what a difference, I'm guessing.
Oh man, the phrase that I'm clinging on to at the moment is the universe has no cap for me. There is nothing that I can't do. So I probably need a bit of a more strategic plan, but I'm just excited every day to just get out and coach. And I'm happy living with this excitement for the time being.
Oh my goodness, yes. And I hope it lasts for the rest of your life. And every single day that you get up feeling that passion and feeling that purpose and feeling that excitement. And as I say on many of our podcasts, when I get the opportunity to sit down and have a chat with you guys, I love it. And I learn so much. I had absolutely no idea about what had happened to you prior to coming on our courses, because NLP is content free. So I don't need to know the past.
Yep.
But then when I start to get a glimpse into what life was like for people like yourself beforehand, and now what life's like and what the future looks like, I'm just like, oh my goodness, this is just amazing. Absolutely amazing. And thank you so much for being so awesome and embracing everything I've chucked at you and everything else. And Michelle's even come in and helped me on the last Master Practitioner course with our modelling day, and awesome you were at that too.
Love it.
So thank you so much for being an awesome member of our community.
Thank you.
Can I just ask you a few quick fire questions? And then what I'll do is I'll give people your details, because I'm sure having listened to this episode, people are going to want to reach out to you and find out a little bit more about Milan coaching. So if, say, someone's listening to this podcast episode and maybe it's the first time they've come across me, maybe it's the first time they've come across NLP, if you could give them any kinds of pearls of advice in terms of what you would say to them if they're sat on the fence thinking, maybe this might be for me, but I'm not sure, like, what would your pearls of wisdom be? Rosie's just given you hers. She's barking in the background.
Rosie's
I'm sorry.
Wow,
Rosie's just sorry, hang on. Thank you. We don't need you on the podcast. Thank you. I know, you've done an amazing job. Well done. Dogs, honestly, who'd have them?
Dogs.
She's still out there barking her heads off. Anyway, back on to you. I'm hoping she'll shut up in a minute. She's always got to have the final word, that dog. Honestly, you can this is her having a final word. Last bark. That'll probably be it now. Anyway, so if you were talking to someone who is maybe watching the podcast, listening to the podcast, sat on the fence going, I'm not sure, like this NLP thing, what would your pearls of wisdom be to someone sat on the fence?
I think you need to go with your gut. If there's part of you that is thinking, I want to do this, just do it. You have absolutely nothing to lose. And what I've learned with this community in particular is it's one of the most supportive communities I've ever come across. Rosie agrees. It's not just about a bunch of people. It's not just about a bunch of people that you sit in a room and train with. I've made some lifelong friends in this community, and everybody is so supportive, regardless of the stage of the journey you're on.
Sorry, hold on. What are you doing out here? Right, that's it. Now go and lie down. Honestly, I despair with her sometimes. I'm so sorry, Michelle. Apologies, everybody on the podcast. We've had internet issues. Now we've got a problem with my dog barking her head off, telling off the neighbours for making a noise. Oh, dear me. Anyway, sorry, back to you.
Yeah, and I'd also say if you're a person that likes processes, like details, likes the science behind it, it's absolutely the right course to come on, because you learn so much about human behavior, how the brain works, the strategy that your brain is running. I'm very AD, so I like the details. I like to know exactly how everything falls in line, and that's what NLP will give you. And I think it's also good just to give you a boost. You don't need to do it for the benefit of your business, for the benefit of your own company. You can do NLP just for personal development and come out the other side a completely different, enthusiastic, excited person.
Yay. I love it. Do it, she says. Do it. She says, do it. Cool. So I want to ask you a few quick fire questions. You didn't know I was going to do this, but I'm going to do it. So she's on the spot, ladies and gentlemen. So she has no idea what I'm about to ask. So very quickly then. So if you were to give your 18-year-old self some advice, what would you say?
Trust your gut.
good piece of advice. I agree. What is your one big thing that you're going to be looking to achieve over the next year, 2 years?
I have a...
Boom.
Oh, I don't want to sound... I have a financial goal that I've always told myself I will never make, I will never reach. I won't tell you what it is, but it's in my mind and it's in my head that to reach that, I will know, yes, I've absolutely done myself proud.
Oh, amazing. I love it when people set goals like that they like, historically, no, that was never possible. And now all of a sudden you believe it is, and you're going to start the process of doing it. And I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah. Michelle, you have been amazing. Thank you so much for your honesty and being such an open book today on the podcast and sharing your story. I know you will have inspired many, many people who go on to listen to this episode. So on behalf of myself and the community, thank you very much for coming on the show. Now, listen, I am pretty confident that there's going to be people that have listened to this afternoon or on the podcast whenever they listen to it that probably will want to reach out to you and have a further chat and find out a little bit more about you and Milan Coaching and how you can help. So if anybody's listened to the podcast and they do want to reach out to you and they do want to connect and find out a little bit more about what you do, where's the best place for them to go?
So come on over to the website. It's milancoaching.com, and that will give you access to my email, my Instagram, my Facebook, everything. You can pick your pleasure on there. That's the easiest way to get me.
Fab. And your email address is on there as well, I'm assuming, as well. Perfect. So Milan Coaching... Say again, Milan.com. I was trying to remember I was trying to remember the back end then. So milancoaching.com. So go and check out Michelle's website, folks. And if you're looking for a coach to help you move past feelings, just settling for life, and if you know that you are destined for more, then I know you're going to want to go and chat to Michelle. So Michelle, thank you so much for joining me. Just before we go, folks, just a couple of reminders. So our next interview is going to be with the equally lovely Kat Perkins. I cannot wait to interview the career superwoman that she is. That's going to be so exciting. So stay tuned for that. You're also going to probably hear from me too. So keep making sure that you subscribe to this podcast, because we put out so many podcasts and great content. We're in the middle of season 5. So please subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you want to subscribe on, whether that's Apple, Spotify, or any other popular podcast platform. Please make sure that if you want some videos of me doing NLP and things like that, go over and check out our YouTube channel. If you go over to youtube.com/unleash your potential, then you will be able to go and find lots of very short 10-12 minute videos where I showcase NLP. And hot off the press, I think I need a drum roll. Michelle's done one too. I literally last week or the week before released a brand new document called How to Select the Best NLP Course for You. Now, this was born out of a load of questions that we get from people looking for courses going, Laura, it's overwhelming. There's too much choice. How do I make the right decision for me over the best training? And the document's not about me promoting myself. Obviously, I'd love you to train with me. It's just about making sure that we stop this issue where people are making mistakes because they're picking the wrong provider because they're not asking the right questions. So we'll put the link in the description to the podcast, or go over and check out unleashyourpotential.org.uk. And on the front of my website, you'll see a great big sign that says access the guide here. So go and check it out. It's completely free. I don't even want your email address because I don't really want to know who's had it. All I want is I want to be passionate about helping people choose great NLP training providers. And if it's not me, I'm cool. And if it is me, even better. But do go and check that out on my website, unleashyourpotential.org.uk. Right on the homepage, right there in front of you, will be a big sign that says download the guide. Go on there and you'll download the guide. And there's three videos I've done to go with it. So if you don't want to read it and you just want to watch me, that's all there too. So there you go. So there's a few bits and bobs for you to be getting on with. I'm going to be back very, very soon. Like I say, our next official guest is Kat Perkins, which would be amazing. Michelle, thank you again so much. Really appreciate it. Sorry for the dog noises, but I hope that will add to the experience. Listen, take care, everybody, and we'll see you back here on the podcast really soon.